psychic.
Rein him in.
I got to get to this nickname of yours, Dumpster Diver Earl. Really? I mean, this is a nice place. Why would you need to go dumpster diving?
I can't get it off. It's there everywhere. I go on to looking my name up now. It's even in Wikipedia.
You are on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not even on Wikipedia yet.
It says ballots or dumpster diver.
Very impressed.
I'm not impressed. I don't like the name, but it's all right.
Yeah, well,
I look like I'm going to live with it.
You didn't get to pick it. It's a badge of honor. Tell me this. How did this happen?
Well, it started basically with my daughter coming home one night after being downtown and going into where the election center was, and she was able to drive in with somebody else and took a bunch of pictures inside the building and outside the building, which was kind of amazing because supposedly our ballots were supposed to be all locked up and safe.
What you might point out, Earl, is that they were there on a Friday, approximately noon 30.
Right.
And the roller doors for the big semi-trucks were all standing wide open.
And this is November?
This was in the MECTEC Center.
No, this is what year? What month was that?
Oh, it was after the first of the year.
Yeah,
So it's January.
Right
Yeah,
around January.
yeah, January and February.
And and so they came home and they were showing me the pictures that they had taken, and I said, well, there was dumpsters sitting out there, and I said, did you guys look inside the dumpsters, just to see what was going on? And my daughter said, no, we didn't look in there. We were too busy looking inside the building and stuff and taking pictures. So I said, oh man, and for that whole night, all I could think about. I want to see what's inside those dumpsters because it just didn't make sense. Ballots, space, empty pallets on the other side. What's going on in the middle, And everybody's talking about these shredded ballots. And I said, something very nefarious is going on. And so that night I couldn't sleep. The next morning I got up, I called Steve because Steve is basically went me through the whole thing with all of the canvassing and everything. And I said, you want to go down for a ride? Let's go down. I got to take some pictures. I want to see what's down there. And he said, sure, let's go. So we took off. We headed down there. All the pictures.
You were possessed by
I was totally. I don't know what it was about it. I just had it in my mind. I had to see something. I had to see it in the dumpster. There's something in the dumpster. I just can't believe. And it made sense. And I was going through all these scenarios in my head all night. Well, what if they do? Where would it go? And how would they do it? And I kept going back to the dumpsters. Something's in that dumpster. I don't know what it was, but we had to get there. We drove in, and I was driving. I got out of the car, and I ran to the first dumpster, and there was nothing there. So I said, and I ran to the second one, and I looked inside, and I said, oh my God, there's like all these broken up pallet pieces of wood. And underneath it, I could see like a yellow plastic bag, but I couldn't see what was in it. And I told Steve, come on over here, take a picture of this before I get in, because I'm going in, I want to see what's in there. And he said, well, no, don't go in. So I walked around inside, I looked inside, and boy, it looked like, because the plastic was translucent, you could kind of see through it. And I said, boy, that looks like shaved paper in there. Shredded. And I said, so I got to get in. So I climbed inside, which was not good, but I climbed inside the dumpster.
Risking life and limb for the country.
Yeah, this is a moment where I did not pull back on the reins.
Yeah, get in there. He said, get in there.
I said, whoa, it was too late.
Anyway, we got inside. I got inside the dumpster, and I told Steve, make sure you take a picture while I'm doing this. So he took pictures, and I pulled out the sticks out of the way, and I grabbed the bag, and I pulled it out, and I looked at it, and I could see through it, and I just barely met out something that looked like it might have been a ballot. And I said, boy, these look, I hate to say it, but they look like ballots in here. And Steve goes, oh my God. He says, well, let's grab them. I gave them to him. We put them into the car.
And we videotaped taking them out of the dumpster.
Yes,
we videotaped putting them in the car. We videotaped taking them out of the car and videotaped bringing them into the house and opening the bag for the first time.
Yeah,
good.
Steve has pictures of the whole thing, all the way through. Yeah, and we took pictures of the whole place so that there was no questions, there was no signs saying no trespassing or anything like that. I told him to get a 360 degree from where we were at all the way around. I was being a little smart, and I sat there and waved to the camera because I knew they had security on us, but I did wave to the cameras, being a little wise. Anyway, I'll skip that word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you brought him here.
And I brought him right here in this camera in the bag, and I opened the bag. We were trying to be real careful with the bag because it was tied in a knot. So when we opened it up, it was stuffed with these things. And you know how paper has a tendency when you open it up, it kind of like a volcano.
Oh, yeah.
And it just came out like that. And so we all decided what we had to do was try to figure out what's in there, because we could see there was ballots. There was no question on the fact that the long strands were the ballots. The other short pieces, we couldn't tell exactly, but there was the different colors for the envelopes. And there was a couple pieces that had, we could tell there was pictures on them. So Steve grabbed the ones with the pictures, the short pieces, which wound up being death certificates. And the long pieces I grabbed as many as I could. And I was working on the counter over on this side over here. And we put pieces down and laid them out so we could see what they were. And I was able to get about maybe 20 strips that would line up. Now the problem with it, when you lined them up, because when they go through the shredder, if you put a stack through the shredder, they kind of they shave crooked.
Yeah.
So to line them up, it was kind of hard. But we got it pretty much lined up. Took a picture of it. The picture you saw on OEN, okay, that picture was the same picture. That was the picture that we took.
That was your picture.
That's my picture. And what I loved about OEN doing it is they moved the names together and they matched up. And they were able to tell that it was a 2020 election ballot. The other thing is I always got a kick out of when they were out there was they were saying, oh, these are just the ballots that were sent out for, to show you how to do it, and a sample, an example. And I said, well, that's pretty good, because when I looked at the samples, they're not printed on the back with names. These have prints on the front and on the back, and they were the current people for 2020 election. So it was obviously, there was no question at all that these were real ballots.
Dumpster diver Earl.
Yes.
Doing it for the country. So, how did that play in with your relationship with Liz?
Well, Liz has, I've been working with Liz since the very beginning on her going out and doing all of the canvassing. Me and Steve have always teamed up, and we went out and doing the canvassing. And the more we went out, the more we got tied into doing it, because it was so obvious that there was a problem. And all you got was all these people on all the networks saying, oh, there's no problems, everything is perfect, the elections there was never any kind of a problem. But yet people had, and we were finding them. We were finding them every time we went out. We would find a whole bunch of them. We were signing affidavits. Me and Steve were going out signing affidavits like crazy. The first batch that went to the Supreme Court, I know that Steve and me had, I know at least 10 of them that we had to go hand in. And I think there was more than that. But we went with a stack that was about that high of affidavits that we had signed to send out. So yeah, everybody that was on that, there was hundreds of us out there, thousands actually, a couple thousand of us going out. And some of the stories you hear were basically the same stories we were running into. The biggest problems we ran into were the apartment complexes. We finally came in to realize that the apartment complexes, the RV parks, the 55 and older areas, those were the perfect target to get multiples of ballots, big bulk numbers. Because what they would do is they would purposely put not complete address. They would not have a unit number or apartment number on the address. So what would happen is they would sit in the apartments for a while, and then they would be returned to the post office. Well, the biggest thing with that is who is handling all of these ballots that are already filled out with names on them, already ready to go. Who's getting all these ballots and where are they going? Because once somebody fills them out and sticks them in the mailbox, they're legit.
Yeah.
They're legit.
The harvesters.
Yes.
The hearing that went on yesterday,
Yeah.
that was one of the things they talked about, the E322 and an E323 chain of custody, where they send them out and they have a file called the E22, and then they come back on an E23.
They had more 23s than 22s, which is the opposite of what
Yeah,
you have.
should be.
When I was I was in the room. It was
Oh,
I was
excellent.
in the front row. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I was there, but
I didn't even know it was happening. And then I get a text.
Ties together.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So it all goes together.
Well, I've come to Arizona to kind of solidify my Arizona credentials. I'm living in California.
Dude,
I was born in Phoenix.
get me
You know
behind
what?
me.
I started my channels at Sweet Home Maricopa, Sweet Home Arizona, because, hey, when the Phoenix Suns went to the finals in the early 90s, I'm rooting for them against anybody else. Even against Michael Jordan, I'm rooting for the Suns. Okay, so Arizona, Maricopa County.
No,
Phoenix,
Well, you're good. I have to say, I have a lot of friends in California, and I always get a kick out of when I talk to them, because the first thing they ask, the first time I talk to them, after I tell them what's happened, they all shut up. But the first couple of times they've asked me is, what's the big deal about mail-in votes? About mailing in your ballot? And it's like, okay, let me give you a couple of examples, and tell me if you think that's a good idea to mail out ballots. And I just have to go through a couple of things that we just talked about.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I guess that isn't such a great idea.
The more nodes on the chain of custody, the less secure.
That's
It's like
right.
it's illogical to make it. We're making it harder for people to vote. No, we're making it hard for people to. I'm going to say it fraudulently.
That's right.
Produce an
That's right.
outcome.
And I get a kick out of the fact that I just can't believe, actually, I don't get a kick out of it. I can't believe that more people don't see the obvious. I mean, this is not something that's just, oh yeah, it could be a couple of extras. This is obvious fraud to the point of ridiculous. The Democrats didn't go a little bit, they went the whole world. Everything.
The F word.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'm sorry.
On this channel, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
This is on my long.
But
It's not gonna go on YouTube.
It's just,
No, it'll go on YouTube.
It's just amazing to me that people don't take the time to look at the truth and see how big of and what they did. I think maybe some